Prince Louis has always captured attention with his vibrant personality, and his latest public moment is no exception. A vision of him beaming with joy has emerged, reminding many of his headline-making presence during the Queen's Jubilee. However, the clash between Louis and Queen Camilla offers a deeper insight into the ongoing tensions within the royal family, specifically the rigid traditions that often overshadow the natural exuberance of childhood. Camilla, known for her commitment to royal decorum, proposed a formal and structured birthday celebration for Louis. Yet, for a 6-year-old, the idea of a strictly orchestrated event was far from the excitement he had imagined. Instead, he had envisioned an outdoor garden party filled with games, laughter, and boundless energy. When those plans were met with restrictions, his frustration boiled over in an unfiltered outburst, revealing not just his disappointment, but the broader struggle of balancing childhood with royal expectations. Louis, who simply wanted a carefree day, found himself caught between innocence and the weight of royal tradition. Camilla's insistence on a formal gathering, complete with a string quartet and rehearsed greetings, stood in stark contrast to the freedom he craved. This moment symbolized a larger issue facing the monarchy: the challenge of modernizing while still clinging to centuries-old traditions. While the public increasingly embraces the idea of royals as individuals with unique personalities, the royal institution remains deeply rooted in its customs. Louis's reaction was not just about a birthday party. It reflected a deeper longing for freedom, a push against the expectations tied to his title. Camilla's growing influence over the royal children, from playtime to wardrobe, reinforces the monarchy's control, yet it also raises questions about the emotional toll such strict mandates take on young royals. This situation also highlights Camilla's evolving role within the monarchy. Once seen as a more passive figure, her influence has deepened, reaching even the most personal aspects of royal life. Her desire for structure and order, while understandable, often clashes with the free-spirited nature of children who simply want to play and explore without protocol looming over them. This ongoing tension between tradition and personal expression may shape the future of the monarchy as the younger generation grows and challenges the old ways. Prince Louis's vibrant personality makes him a unique and fascinating figure within the royal family. His unrestrained spirit and refusal to conform to rigid expectations endear him to the public, making him relatable in a way many royals are not. He serves as a reminder that childhood, full of spontaneity and joy, cannot be confined by protocol, no matter how grand the surroundings. The contrast between Louis and Camilla is striking. Raised in a strict aristocratic tradition, Camilla views childhood as a time to instill decorum and discipline, ensuring young royals learn to carry themselves with grace. In her eyes, Louis's wild joy needs to be tamed to fit the image of a well-mannered royal child. Yet, Louis represents a more modern view, one where childhood is messy, fun, and free from public expectations. His ability to bring laughter to formal events has earned admiration from the public, who see in him an authenticity often lost in the carefully curated royal image. His antics, whether making mud pies at a garden party or disappearing under the dinner table, may be seen as disruptive, but to many, they reflect the unfiltered joy missing from the royal family's carefully controlled public persona. The tension between Louis and Camilla is more than just a battle of wills. It symbolizes the larger conflict between maintaining royal protocol and allowing room for individuality. Camilla's strict adherence to tradition contrasts with Louis's natural exuberance, widening the rift between them. She represents the monarchy's past, structured, controlled, and formal. Louis, on the other hand, represents its potential future, one where personality and spontaneity take precedence over rigid expectations. His refusal to conform sets him apart from his siblings, Prince George and Princess Charlotte, who have adapted to royal life with increasing grace. Despite his disruptive nature, the public embraces Louis precisely because of his authenticity. He reminds the world that, beneath the royal titles and grand palaces, he is just a child, curious, playful, and full of life. This ongoing contrast makes one wonder, Could Louis's rebellious spirit eventually push the monarchy toward modernization? Or will tradition ultimately shape him into the very mold he now resists? What do you think? Does Louis's defiance signal a shift within the royal family? Or is it simply the natural behavior of a young child? Let's discuss in the comments below. Prince Louis's outburst at his birthday party marked a turning point, not just in his personal development, but also within the broader royal family. His defiance, expressed in two simple but powerful words, "Shut up," was a bold act of rebellion against the rigid expectations placed upon him. For a family steeped in centuries of tradition, Louis's words shattered the carefully crafted illusion of royal perfection, forcing a confrontation between old ideals and modern childhood expression. At the heart of this moment was a clash of philosophies. Queen Camilla's strict aristocratic traditions versus Louis's innate need for freedom and spontaneity. Camilla, raised in a world of formality, believed childhood was a time to learn one's place, valuing decorum and discipline. Louis, however, approached life with boundless energy, laughter, and adventure. His refusal to conform highlighted the challenge of maintaining centuries-old traditions in an era of rapid change. What made this moment remarkable was how it shifted Camilla's perspective. Though unwavering in her insistence on tradition, she began to soften. She allowed moments of creative expression, even suggesting outdoor drawing lessons, a small but significant break from rigid routines. Perhaps in Louis's rebellion, she saw her own journey of acceptance into the royal family, realizing that just as the monarchy had evolved to survive, it must continue adapting. Even the royal staff noticed these changes. Whispers of surprise spread when Camilla joined the children's games, laughing freely as her hat was knocked askew during an enthusiastic game of tag. The once poised and controlled queen consort embracing spontaneity symbolized a shift, the rigid walls of royal tradition crumbling to reveal a more relatable, human side of the monarchy. For Louis, this wasn't just a single victory, but the beginning of a new chapter. His free-spirited nature remained unchanged, transforming palace gardens into playgrounds and stately rooms into adventure lands. Yet now, he was viewed differently, especially by Camilla. Where she once sought to mold him into a proper royal, she began to see his resilience and spirit as qualities that could shape the monarchy in new ways. Louis's rebellious streak had, in a sense, softened the rigidity of royal life. Even George and Charlotte observed how his unrestrained joy influenced the palace atmosphere, filling it with genuine laughter. The once solemn corridors, long devoid of childhood energy, now echoed with playfulness. Looking back, this moment may be remembered not just for Louis's defiance, but for what it symbolized, a new era where tradition and modernity could coexist. It's fascinating how one child's honesty could challenge centuries-old traditions and prompt such change. It wasn't a grand speech or public declaration, but the unguarded truth of a young boy that made an impact. As the sun set on Louis's birthday, casting long shadows over the palace grounds, it was clear this day would be a symbol of possibility. The grass stains on Camilla's hem, the mud on Louis's formal shoes, far from being signs of defeat, represented a newfound understanding. The royal family, for all its grand rituals, had taken a small but meaningful step toward embracing the joy and freedom of childhood. As Louis and Camilla walked together through the garden, their conversation too soft to hear, it was evident that something had shifted. The battle between tradition and change would never truly end, but perhaps, for now, a new balance had begun, one where royal duty and childhood exuberance could coexist. Louis's outburst didn't just challenge expectations. It exposed a vulnerability within the monarchy itself. For years, the royal family had maintained a carefully controlled public image. Yet Louis, in his youthful honesty, disrupted that facade. His frustration revealed the tension between the monarchy's image and the reality of growing up in such an environment. In the aftermath of Louis's outburst, the room fell silent. Even the portraits on the walls seemed to freeze in time, as if holding their breath. Camilla, initially stunned and angry, cycled through shock, hurt, and eventually understanding. As she sat with the weight of Louis's words, it became clear that more was at play than a mere child's tantrum. Louis's defiance mirrored past royals who reshaped the monarchy by challenging convention. His refusal to be molded into something he wasn't hinted at a future where the monarchy might need to adapt rather than cling to outdated traditions. It was Prince William who stepped in as the peacemaker, kneeling beside Louis and speaking gently. He described tradition as a tree with deep roots but branches that must grow toward new light, a sentiment that struck a chord with everyone in the room. The compromise that emerged blended old and new. The formal gathering remained, but with adjustments. Classical music was interwoven with Louis's favorite Disney songs, merging royal tradition with his playful spirit. The event extended into the gardens, allowing free play alongside structured activities. This wasn't just a solution to a birthday party. It was a blueprint for reconciling tradition with modern needs. A step toward a royal environment that embraced joy and spontaneity while still respecting decorum. Perhaps Louis's rebellious spirit would one day play a role in modernizing a monarchy, or perhaps it would present challenges. Either way, his defiance had already left a mark, proving that sometimes the greatest changes come not from diplomacy or ceremony, but from the simple, unfiltered honesty of a child.